Gonna do some box squats today, 8 to 10 sets, 2 to 3 reps. And I'm gonna be tugging around this sled, excuse me, for a few sets. Sled work is great. If you can combine the sled with something else, even better. Combine it with some push-ups, a burpee. Fatigue is the enemy when we're trying to train for like explosive strength. Conditioning is different. Training for conditioning, good to have mild fatigue. A lot of people say, go like 80% of your heart rate, 70% of your heart rate. But when you're gonna sprint a hill or something like that, you may want to have like 3 to 5 minute rest. In this case, I can rest a little bit by pulling the sled backwards. So I just rested like 90 seconds. This will probably take an additional minute. That'll be the rest, and then we'll pull forward again. I kind of like the power of being able to get the whole foot on the ground, kind of a whole foot contact. It's different than running, running or sprinting rather. We might kind of be hitting this kind of outer edge of the foot, and the heel might touch down a pinch when you run. But this isn't like solely to mimic running. I'm trying to mimic the muscles involved when I'm running. So here to here, and trying to get from this position, ribs turn this way, body turn this way, to ribs being turned that way, and so on. So it feels pretty helpful for that. Even when I was powerlifting, I was always a fan of squatting a little higher, and a lot of times the box height would be almost this high. Sometimes maybe just a little bit lower, but you can see like that's definitely not below parallel, and it's definitely not like an Olympic lifting squat. But this always just felt comfortable to me. It felt like I could train with the right weights there, and then it also felt like my back was always in good position. What's lost in the squat, and you got guys like Joel Seedman that talk about this kind of like 90-degree squats, these partial range of motion squats, and then people have a fit and they're like, that's not a squat. But most athletes squat that way, and it's because they're able to get the benefit of the squat without having a lot of the negative side effects. And the truth is when most people, almost every single person, minus a few maybe Olympic lifters that are just amazing and have been doing it for 20 years, almost every single person gives up position when they do a squat, which may or may not be dangerous, or you can kind of look at it whatever way you want, but I'm looking at it as if it's a dangerous thing for people to do, because once your back kind of tucks underneath you, your back starts to round. Almost every single person I've ever seen squat, they go to squat down and they get to a certain point and their foot does this, and then their knee does that, and their ankle does that, and it's like, you're gonna squat off of that? Like, it just looks like garbage to me. So the full range of motion squats are valuable, but I would say just do them lighter and do them differently. Maybe that's a goblet squat. Maybe that's a squat where you're holding a sandbag or something. That, to me, that's way more appropriate. Picking up a 150 or 200 pound sandbag and squatting it, or doing a Zercher squat at low depth, again with 185 pounds, 225. But if you want to squat heavier weight and have it transfer over into a lot of other sports and a lot of other activities, and even just growth of your legs and the shape and look of your legs, I would say first of all, I'd say do a box squat and sit back into a box squat and learn how to do a box squat, because I just think they're awesome. And it's you could hurt yourself doing anything, but the odds that you're going to hurt your knee or hurt your back on a box squat are just way less. And then in addition to that, if you're not going to use a box, just squat above parallel. You know, maybe it's not even a half squat. I would say like we're looking at like almost like a quarter squat. Quarter to half squat I think is a good sweet spot, a good range, and you'll get tons out of it. And people can disagree with that, but I think that, you know, years and years of squatting, it's something that I've realized. And then if you do the heavier squats and you do them deep, that's cool. It's a great accomplishment, but it really slows you down, and it kind of is going to hypertrophy your body in weird ways that is not necessarily going to result. It's going to be highly unlikely that that's going to result in you being more athletic. It's probably going to make you worse off, because now you have this like weird bottom half of your body that looks like a centaur, and you probably can't really move around and get around very well. You have what we like to call giant bodybuilder ass.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of people, it's like, I think you're exactly right. Just don't say you squat 500 if it's a high box squat.
Yeah, right.
I think that's
don't go around and tell people, oh, I squatted 500.
Yeah, squat for the exercise of squatting and do it the right way. And then like, if you do a competition, you can tell somebody, hey, I squatted 500.
It's like saying you did a 405 bench, but you did it with a slingshot on.
Yeah.
It's like, well, like, okay.
I think that's what ruins it. It's kind of like
the exercise,
the social media of, oh, I benched 5 plates. Well, yeah, you did it with a slingshot, or I did squat. You know, just say what you actually did, and like, don't worry about it. You know, I mean, we saw, you know, we actually helped Kobe Bryant's trainer, Joey Carbone. We sat and explained the whole West Side system to him, and he had Kobe squatting, and Kobe always did what? Squatted above parallel. And we kind of at the time, I think, even disagreed. He was not going low enough, but we didn't understand what they were necessarily had been doing for 25 years or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a great message to like. I think people going down too low becomes a big problem.
It adds a lot of volume, you know. So if you're thinking of like, it seems like most people right now are after multiple things. They're not just after being strong. Maybe years ago there was kind of, people were more into like just powerlifting or whatever, but now it seems like people want to be like hybrid. They want to like run, they want to do high rocks, they want to do CrossFit, they want to train for a police academy or fire academy, or they want to wrestle, grapple, jiu-jitsu, whatever the other thing is, and they want to like look like they lift, they want to look good, and they want to be able to actually perform really well. So it's one thing just to look good, but then if you can't perform well, then you look like a superhero, but then can't really do as much. And I think most of us admire the person that can kind of do both. And you're kind of like Ronnie Coleman doing a split on stage. You're like, what is that? And then Ronnie Coleman was insanely strong, and he was the greatest bodybuilder ever. And he'll go down as the greatest, like no one will ever beat.
Well, I was just saying, Chris Bumstead. I seen Chris Bumstead deadlifting like 675 for
and dunk, or something. And dunk a basketball.
Yeah, I'm like, what is he? Holy shit! I didn't know he could do that. And then it makes that person just way more impressive to you.
He looks completely different than everybody else too. He's not, even if he gets, first of all, he's huge.
Yeah.
You know, he can weigh a lot. Like I think I saw one video where he was like 265 or something. So he's not a small frame guy, but he never really looks like blocky or boxy. He looks athletic somehow. You're like, that's kind of amazing. I think that's what a lot of people are after, and obviously he's a mutant, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on there with him. But I think most people are looking to be maybe a little bit more well-rounded, and when you're considering that, you have to consider if you're doing a full range of motion squat and you're trying to train it heavy, and you're doing it fairly often with some consistency, it's probably going to have a negative impact on you at some point, because it all boils down to volume and how many sets, how many reps, but the distance is a huge part of it that no one really factors in. The distance that you're moving has a lot of wear and tear on your body and on your joints. I'm not saying you're definitely going to get hurt by doing full range of motion squats. I think they're important. I think you should explore them, and again, you should do them with kettlebells and body weight and so on. But it just adds a crazy amount of volume. And for like Angel and I, we're sprinting and we're running and we're doing other things. If we just do these half squats, we can do these once or twice a week, get amazing, incredible results on our legs. We can jump higher, run faster, recover quickly from the workout, get all the benefits of a squat without really any of the negative side effects.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, even if you're trying to break a world record in powerlifting, you don't need to go down all the way. Like, you don't need to go ass to grass. You know? So there's no reason to go ass to grass other than like your own mobility. Like, and that's good too, though, if you can do that without weight, that's a great thing to be able to do. But you don't need to do it to break a world record even. You just need to break parallel. So no reason to always be so worried about that.
Mm-hmm. It could just be an additional exercise that you do, partial range of motion squats or squatting up from like the pins. I think it's important that you learn how to squat in some way, but this idea that your heels need to be on the ground and stuff, like a lot of it's just dumb. Like it's all made up. So make it up whatever way you want. And if you want to squat really low because you think that that's fun or cool, or you are more into the range of motion side of things than you are the weights, then that's cool, and then try to explore it. But also I would say, like, just for me, like if I go to squat down, I'm very much hindered by my hips and my ankles, and so I have to be more on my toes. And so if I was to work on full range of motion squats with a barbell, this is the way I would squat now. I would just squat through here, and that would be limiting it in and of itself because I'm on my toes. But what's wrong with being on your toes? Every sport that you ever play, you're on your toes quite a bit. So there could be some good transfer into sport. And guys like Cal Dietz and Corey Schlesinger, some of the best coaches in the world, that's how they tell a lot of their athletes to squat, is kind of on their toes with the heels slightly off the ground. So anyway, we got some box squats in. We did a bunch of sets. You saw us go at some different heights, and we had the chains on there. The chains help to accommodate resistance. The weights are heavier at the top, lighter at the bottom. As your body gets into better positions and has better leverage, you get into more advantageous position. The lockout or the even just unracking of a heavy squat, we can all agree that the most amount of weight we can handle in a squat rack would be something that you just unrack and you don't even move it, right? Like some of us might be able to do 4, 5, 6, 700, whatever, might be able to do quite a bit of weight when it comes to unracking it, and it's because the range of motion is so short, and it's because the joint angles are very favorable for you to lift the most amount of weight. When we lift a regular weight, when we lift just a barbell that's got 95 pounds on it or something like that, there's going to be some of those positions aren't going to be so favorable as you go to the bottom of the squat. If you're not strong to execute 95 pounds all the way through a full range of motion, you're going to tend to round over and lean over and all those different kinds of things. But if you have a bar that's maybe 70 pounds and you have bands on it, and now it's like 150 pounds at the top, but it's like 80 pounds at the bottom or something like that, your body's going to be able to figure out a way to produce enough force to get through it. There's also kind of this feedback loop of, oh shit, I unracked 95 pounds with 100 pounds of chains on there, and now that's that's nearly 200 pounds. So your body registers like, I picked up 200 pounds, and when you go to lower it, that 200 pounds now becomes 100 pounds. And when you're at the bottom of the squat, your body still thinks that's 200 pounds on there, and boom, you can come flying up off the box because 100 pounds of it has deloaded onto the ground. Hopefully it's not confusing you guys at all, but it's a really cool principle. It's a really cool way to train. I know not everyone has access to the chains, but I would highly recommend trying to figure out a way to get access to them. Try to find a local gym that has some of this stuff. A lot of powerlifting gyms will have it, or some bands is another great way to do things. And for me, I just have found, I'm just finding ways to train and to train hard, and I guess to like train through and around injuries, while still getting like awesome benefit from some really great exercises. So that's the box squats with my brother and his girlfriend Angel, and we're gonna move on to some other stuff. As we do our rope flow, remember we want spinal movement. A lot of spinal movement. We want our head moving around. If you keep your eye on one thing, so keep my eyes on the camera, I can kind of chicken neck it. You ever see when they try to move a chicken around? You ever see that? How it works better than a steady cam?
So you watch his head stay totally stationary as I move his body.
But you can do that with your own head as you're doing your movement. You're trying to keep your eyes fixed on one position as if it's a target. And then you can work on the movement of your head as you still have your eyes fixed on that spot. It seems funny, seems weird, awkward, strange, but you're going to get in a lot of things in lifting that are going to be strange. And this is the place where I'd love to see you be the least apprehensive, because this is training. And training is where we get to do any and everything. We're allowed to do movements that look weird. We're allowed to make really weird noises. If you need to breathe, you saw my brother breathing, a different way earlier with the kettlebells today. Those are all good things. Those are all what training is all about. Training is about really controlling your environment. And the game itself is uncontrollable. The game of life, the game of everything else. We get to come into a gym. The gym could be heated or cooled with air conditioning. The gym can be whatever environment we want. We could sign up at whatever gym we want. We could sign up at the garage gym type setting. We could set up at the SNC style gym that is more strength and conditioning. We could go to, barbell brigade, zoo culture, and any of these other kinds of gyms. We also have the right to go to 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness. We got all these options of what style of gym we go to. And you get to act whichever way they normally typically act inside those facilities. It's because it's a practice. It's a particular training modality. And I should be able to go into any gym and practice this flow just like I could do in my own front yard, my own backyard. This is where I usually like to do this stuff. But this is my own practice, my own way. Hundreds of thousands of reps of internal and external rotation. Hundreds of thousands of reps. Get the body to move in synchronicity. I'm making up words. But you'll have to... I don't mind people going to a gym and having their headphones in and just having things set a particular way, and they want to feel a certain way. Maybe they want to be left alone for that day and so on. They just want to train, and they want to have some solidarity within that. And it's a way for them to heal or something like that. But I also think there's a lot of other ways to train, and I think you're better off training without your headphones on. And you're better off turning your training session into a little bit of a community event, especially if you're going to a local gym. Why not? Why take on this attitude of fuck these people, no one's working out as hard as me? Instead, why not say, I'm going to show some of these people that maybe don't know as much as me. I'm going to show some of these people some cool ways that I like to train, or I'm going to learn or observe them and communicate with them rather than try to internally hate them and never say anything to them type of deal. Not understand their style of training. They don't understand your style of training and so forth. But I just have too many people. They're like, oh, I don't like doing that because it makes me look weird. Everything makes you look weird. Everything is weird. A squat's weird. A bench is weird. A deadlift's weird. It's all weird. The more common things are, the more normal they are. And like normal isn't always great, you know? Like a lot of us, I guess normal, is okay. But a lot of us are seeking to be like extraordinary. Like that's the goal, right? Aren't we trying to be like extraordinary? So if you're going to be extraordinary, you're going to have to do weird things. You have to do things that are uncomfortable. You're going to have to do things that are going to hurt. And yeah, I understand that things can make you feel a certain way. But imagine being like so wound into your own thing, into your own situation, that you can barely even go on a diet because you can't really tell anybody else about the diet because you think it sounds too weird. Or you can't speak up for yourself at a restaurant and just say, hey, I tried to order this without any fries. I tried to order this without any mashed potatoes or whatever. You know, for me, I've been doing this a long time, so I don't eat those things, even if they do come with the meal. But I do specifically say when I order, I do tell them, hey, dressing on the side, and this, you know, do you have olive oil and vinegar? Can you try to cook that without oil? Or I just don't go to a restaurant as much as I used to, because I know I can kind of cook it better at home and make it my own way, type of deal. Anyway, that's it for training today. I got down to 207 pounds this week. 207 pounds, not 270, 207 pounds this week. That was, I did a 48-hour fast, and I also blended in I did a 24-hour dry fast, followed by a 24-hour water fast. Dry fasting meaning no water for 24 hours. Wasn't hard, by the way. Was still peeing the entire time, and it just wasn't hard. So I guess keep in mind, I have experience with some of these things, experience with a lot of these things, a lot of experience with diet and nutrition, and so these things might be easier for me. I did sort of, I guess you'd say, like gnaw on some electrolytes. Like I had electrolyte powder, and I just kept sticking my finger in there because I'm like, it probably doesn't hurt to get the magnesium and the sodium and stuff from that. So I did some of that, just trying to make sure I didn't cramp. But I also accelerated my dry fast a little bit by doing some sauna and by doing some training on that particular day. I'm hearing people talk about 48-hour dry fast and 72 and these different things. And I was like, I don't think those make any sense for me with how active I am. But I was like, I'll do it my own way, my own version of it. So I sort of made it up to do it a different way, and it felt great. But yeah, I got down to 207. Really happy with the way the box squats went today. The box squatting, the bench pressing, everything's moving along. I did, get a little weird owie thing in my shoulder from squats last week. That was unexpected. The whole reason why I squatted with the giant camber bar in the first place was to avoid that, but you can't avoid everything all the time. It's just inevitable that you're going to get dinged up here and there. Sprints are still going really good. It's been a little bit since I've been to the track, so that's something I'll probably have to try to get to maybe like Friday or this weekend. Get out on the track and do some 200s and 400s and some of that good stuff. Strength is never weak. This week is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.